Okay, in this video I want to show you the definition of limiting reactant. So let's have a quick review on the topic of stoichiometry. So we have seen it before that stoichiometry is the study of quantitative relationships between the amount of reactants used and products formed by chemical reactions, and that's called stoichiometry. So the amount of reactants consumed or the amount of reactants used and the products formed or the amount of products produced. So stoichiometry is based on the law of conservation of mass. So law of mass conservation or law of conservation of mass. The law states that matter is neither created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. So it means that the mass of total amount of material is not changing during the chemical reaction. So it means that chemical bonds in reactants break and new chemical bonds form to produce products, but the amount of matter present at the end of the reaction is the same as was present at the beginning of the reaction. So let's have some other concepts. What is limiting reactant or limiting reagent? The limiting reactant is the reactant that is completely consumed in a chemical reaction and limits the amount of product. So it means that the limiting reactant, the amount of limiting reactant, it is less than the amount that is provided by stoichiometric relationships. So the amount is less than stoichiometric amount. So that's why we call it limiting reactant. On the other hand, if we have two reactants, when one reactant is limiting reactant, the other reactant becomes reactant in excess. So the reactant in excess is any reactant that occurs in a quantity greater than is required to completely react with the limiting reactant. So it means that when we have the reactant in excess, we will have that excess amount in products. Because, for example, if we have two reactants in the reaction, when A and B is completely consumed, and if we have B in excess, this excess amount of B, we will see it in products. What is theoretical yield? The theoretical yield is the amount of product that can be made in a chemical reaction based on the amount of limiting reactant. So that's related to the amount of products divided by or based on the amount of limiting reactant consumed. What is actual yield? Actual yield is the amount of product actually produced by a chemical reaction. And this formula, we call it percent yield. So actual yield divided by theoretical yield times 100% gives us percent yield.